In this video, we're going to take a quick run through a more complex RFP than the previous video, which ran through a client notes type simple RFP. So we've kind of already built everything, and we're just going to run through how it was done and show the results real quick just to speed up the video. So this is going to be for an agriculture grant proposal submission. So we're just going to go into our document projects, edit our project. And you'll see there are 34 chapters selected here. So we're going to go straight to the RFP Analyzer. So when you use the RFP Analyzer, this would have been 0. There would have been no documents picked initially. And we would fill in the company data, client data screens. These are the name, address information that gets merged into the proposal when it's created. So I go into the RFP Analyzer, and you can see we loaded a document, the RFP. And I'll just do a quick show of the RFP here. So you can see it's 7 pages long. It's got a table of contents. It's got a lot of information in here. All right, so this is the RFP we start with. And note that the RFP documents, when they get more complex, you should break them up into chapters. So if you look at every chapter, you can see they use the standard word heading. So as long as you apply standard word headings to your chapter titles, the Wizard's RFP Analyzer will see those and it will be able to break up the RFP into smaller pieces. Now the flip side of that is if your RFP is short enough, it's not going to bump up into any size limitations. You could one-shot an entire RFP document by just simply not using word chapter headers. All right, so that is our RFP. And you can see it says pre-processed, so we already ran through all 4 operations here previously. So you can see the status is complete, and this required steps says yes or no. This just means yes means that's a required step you have to do. It's like so if you have a required step, that those required steps have to be done first before following steps can be done. So you can't go straight to building the lists and reports until you do the pre-process, for example, or you can't go and do the AI writer or submission or other future operations until you build the chapter list. All right, so let's say we ran the pre-process, and every time you run an operation, it'll create a report in addition to anything else it needed to do for that operation. So for the pre-processing, that's pretty basic. It just runs through the RFP, determines how many chapters there are, splits it up into pieces, does a little bit of checking, and creates this report. So you can see it determined there were 12 chapters that it's going to chunk the RFP into. It gives you some ideas of how long each of those chapters are. And how many chapters your RFP gets broken up into, that kind of helps determine how many AI credits that each operation that gets sent to the AI system is going to cost. So it'll give you a breakdown of that here. And these AI credits needed, that will be the same number as when you click an operation and click this credits needed button. So you can see if we want to do the submission rules report, it says 3 credits, which matches this. And the credits needed will depend on the operation, how complex it is, and how many chapters the RFP gets broken up into, because each chapter winds up invoking another AI API call. All right, so that was the pre-process operation. And then let's say we ran the build chapter list operation next. And the results of that are in this report. So when this operation was run on that 7-page RFP, it determined 31 chapters for the proposal. And these chapters are the actual Proposal Kit template chapters out of the library of thousands of available chapters. So what the AI system does is runs through every chapter of the RFP, analyzes all the information in each chapter, and builds a list of chapters that are going to be needed in the response. And these are a breakdown of kind of how it went about determining that. And then it says how mapped by the AI. So in some cases, say, what if the AI couldn't find a direct mapping? It will kick that over to you, the user, to do a direct mapping and determine what chapter you want to use. So that might change how mapped would be mapped by the user. All right. So, and then it tells you, okay, the system added a few extra pages just to flesh out what a full proposal would look like with the cover letter, front and back covers, table of contents. And the final table here, this kind of tells you the topic name that it found in the original RFP, that 7-page RFP, and what the mapped Proposal Kit chapter is. So say it determined, oh, we need a risk mitigation plan. Well, it mapped it to the Proposal Kit risk management chapter. All right, so the second thing that happens when we ran this chapter list, this build chapter list operation, is it also selected those chapters for our project. So let's go out of the RFP Analyzer, and this is how we got these 34 chapters. So that build operation actually selected all of those chapters for our project automatically, so you don't have to go in and pick them one at a time from the Pick Documents screen. All right, so let's go back into the RFP Analyzer. All right, so at this point we have the RFP broken up, analyzed, we've selected the chapters for the project. Now we want to set up the AI writer so we can run this build AI writer instructions operation. And what this will do is it will create a Q&A session from the RFP with all the questions you need to answer in order for the AI writer to create the first draft. And it creates a little report of all the pieces of information it found, questions to answer, requirements found, and so on. This is just a pretty basic report that just gives you an idea of how many things it figured out you need. And the second thing that happens is when that gets run is if you go into the AI writer screen here, go over to the instructions tab, it will have created all these instructions files, creating Q&A sessions for every chapter. So let's go into, say, risk management. Now, we've already filled in this Q&A session, so we've kind of overwritten the actual question and answer tables that were in here with red highlighted text. We've already filled this in. It's a problem statement. Okay, this is more of the format that the Q&A session. So it would have created this requirement, and then the answer would have been as to questions saying, okay, now insert your answer here. So we've gone and pasted in our answers. And once we've filled all this in, and filled in all of the Q&A sessions, then we're ready to use the AI writer to create the AI content and have it fill in the first draft of every one of these pages. All right, so now say we've done that, and we can come over here and say, okay, what did the AI writer create for that risk management page? Okay, so now we've gone from RFP to a Q&A session, we pasted in answers, ran the AI writer, and the AI writer has created this content for this page. Now let's take a look at the capacity. All right, so you can see it's created content that's ready for us to read and edit for the final proposal. Now, you don't need to do your editing on these raw pages here. You can wait till it's all assembled and then just edit, proofread the final first draft. So we'll show that next. Let's go back into RFP Analyzer for one more operation. The submission rules report. Now in our previous video where we showed client notes for a small project, there was no submission rules report because the client notes didn't really have anything submission related that it needed to keep track of. But for this complex RFP, it does. So now we say we ran this build submission rules report. We come over to the results, open the report, and what it did was it ran through the whole RFP. It picked out anything that's like really important, like mandatory rules. And it gives you a Word document in format with check marks, so you can use this as your own checklist to go through as you're finishing the proposal to ensure that you've covered all these rules. And it will tell you, okay, this is the chapter that the RFP rule came from, the rule you need to be aware of that you've covered. And then there's conditional preferred rules. These aren't mandatory, but it's probably things that you might want to be aware of. Then it'll give you anything it found that's disqualifying, prohibited, discouraged to ensure you don't make mistakes doing something you shouldn't be doing in the RFP. This one's obvious. Late submissions are not accepted. Proposers must not contact reviewers directly. And then optional rules. Adding letters of support and commitment is optional. Informational rules, this is just things that found that are more informational that might help keep you on track. And then suggestions, best practices. These are things that it didn't necessarily find in the RFP, but something you might want to do just as a best practice. Before submission, perform a self-check using the compliance matrix. All right, so this is the submission rules report. Now in the future, we're going to be adding more and more operations here for different types of reports that will give you more detailed breakdowns of things that might help you manage the RFP process, like eligibility requirements or a glossary of terms that are found in the RFP that are going to go into a page in the proposal, so on. All right, so that's the basics of the RFP Analyzer. So you basically load some RFP documents, get them in Word format, run operations to select a chapter list, build your AI writer instructions, and then just create reports for various situations to help manage the RFP process. So we'll come back out here to your main project, and this RFP called for some financial information. So budget, project budget. Now, financial pages, schedules, are not created by the AI system. They are managed by the line item quote system. So for the budget, we've added some income sources, assets, and expenses. So you can see what line items we've added for this RFP. All right. Now, we have a project in our wizard. We have pages selected for the final proposal. We've entered company and client name and address information. We've filled in a budget in the line item quote system. We've used the AI writer to create all the initial narrative content. And now we click the green button, OK, save project, and build documents. Now we've already built it previously, but you click that button, that's going to build the actual Word document, the final response proposal. So say we've already done that. I'm going to cancel out of here. And that will put you back into the editing screen when it's built the document. And combined project document. This is the assembled first draft of the response proposal. So you can see we've got a cover letter, name and address information that was pulled out of the company data screen and client data screens. The design theme, this is one of our proposal packs in an agricultural design theme. The table of contents, this is their list of all those 34 chapters. And we just go through the narrative pages, problem statements. So the AI writer wrote this page based on the RFP and all of our answers to the Q&A session. And this is straight out of the AI writer and RFP Analyzer. This document has not had any human-in-the-loop editing done to it. So what you're seeing is directly out of the AI system first draft for this RFP. Now, the only time-consuming part really so far has been the time taken to answer the questions in the RFP session. Everything else has been just letting the AI and wizard assemble and build everything. I'm going to skip down to find our budget page. All right, so the project budget, this is created by the line item quote system from that data I showed you in the line item quote screen. Everything else is out of the AI writer and RFP Analyzer. All right. Compliance matrix. So now it's just up to human editors to read and edit this response proposal for the final submission. So that is a basic rundown of how to use the RFP Analyzer for a more complex RFP all the way through creating your first draft response proposal. Now, once you've edited and finished your proposal, if you need, say, a PowerPoint slideshow to go along with it in a presentation, I've created that here using our Create PowerPoint Slideshow tool. So we'll just open that up. And this is an example of how to go from your final finished proposal, once you've done the human editing, to create also a matching PowerPoint slideshow if you need to give a presentation that matches the actual submission. And there you go. And there are other videos on using the AI writer and the Word to PowerPoint system. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and click subscribe to keep up on the latest proposal writing tips with Proposal Kit.